I don't like the way you're putting those boards together up there. They look like this and they're supposed to look like that. The contractors, the developers are moving things along and they're building homes and they're building them fast and mistakes are made. They do 1,000 houses pretty darn amazingly well. You want to keep an eye on your construction. You'll want your financing in your favor through your bank. You want things to happen your way. Hello, are you going to buy a brand spanking new home? Like a home no one else has ever lived in before? Brand new? Well, there's stuff you need to know because it's a whole different adventure than going out and buying a house that's been around for 15 or 20 years. So let's go on a journey here of some of the things you want to really be cautious about when you're going to buy new construction. Let's get into it. If you like my video, give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button because a new one comes out on Fridays. Okay, so you're going to buy new construction. I'm excited for you. I love going through all the models and having a new house, right? I mean, it's pretty fantastic. Imagine no one's ever lived in it. You can customize it, make it your own. There's awesome parks close by. It's all planned out. And, well, it's going to be your brand new home. There's a million things to think about, but I'm going to cover the ones that should hit you right away because they're the most important ones. Okay, so here we go. Financing a brand new place. As soon as you go into the sales office at a development, a brand new place, you've looked at all 4 models. You're loving the model number C. It's everything you want. And you go in and you put your checkbook because you actually have made like your 4th trip there and you want one of their Plan Cs over on the other end of the property with a view. Your mind is set and you're ready to go. So you go into the sales office and the process that they'll put you through is that they want to use their lenders to finance the house. And did you know you don't have to use their lenders? You can use your own lender, which I think is a great idea, along with having your own realtor to buy that new house. Yes, I said it out loud. You can have representation for yourself buying a new home. Now, I know you're sitting in the pretty little showroom and you're talking to the salesperson there and they took your $5,000 down payment and they're going to hook you up to the KB Home Financing or whatever company it is, and they want you to buy that home through all things having to do with that developer. And you don't have to. And it's not always in your interest. Now, you're going to have to convince them and tell them, look, I have a lender and I don't want to use your lender. And they're not going to turn you down, but let's just say they're going to make you squirm a little bit. All right. But I want you to know that you can buy a brand new house with your own lender. If you don't have a lender, maybe you met a realtor who you love and adore, and they know an amazing lender that will look out for your interest. Because, by the way, those developers want to sell those houses and they do it on the up and up and all is good, but they do it in their favor a lot of times. Everything's going to be in their favor, right? They didn't go into building 4,000 homes in that neighborhood for any other reason but making money for themselves, which is fine. It's all groovy. I'm all about prosperity. But you really do want someone who you can go to, who's not part of their deal, who can represent you. And so you can get a realtor and a lender that work for you and that are separate. And the odds of them giving you good advice because they're your fiduciary and they're looking out for you are much better than when you're working with the developer. Now, I've never heard of anybody having a horrendous experience with a developer because they want you to live there. They want you to be happy. They have good reputations, okay? These big builders like you're seeing in Rohnert Park and frankly, all over the country, they build all over the country and people live in these houses for many, many, many decades and they're perfectly happy. But I know little mini stories Like the guy that told me that, well, his house didn't have a clean out drain and no one would have ever known had he not had a private realtor who said, I don't care if it's brand new construction. I would highly advise you to get a home inspection. Because you know why? That lumber, that drywall, that plumbing, that house has been sitting on the earth, not built, probably for just as long as it's been sitting on the earth built. It's expanding, it's shrinking, it's getting wet, it's drying out, it's going through the deterioration just like a house that's been on the market 20 years. Okay. Some contractors move things along. They all do because they want to make money. And the more that thing sits there and it's not sold, it costs them money. And now a 2x4 is $150. It's not $20. Okay. So they're losing their shorts in a lot of ways. Now, the guy that discovered he didn't have a way to clean out his drains into the sewer system, he figured out a way that basically after, I don't know, a year or so of him living there, the contractor came back and made good on that. Okay. Connected the pipes, let's just say. What a bummer, right? I also met a gentleman. I was actually selling his house and he bought it brand new from a very well-known contractor. And as I got to know him and as I started selling the house, he started telling me what it was like to watch his house being built. And he actually came by the house every day and he would tell the supervisor, okay, the foreman, as they say in construction, I don't like the way you're putting those boards together up there. They look like this and they're supposed to look like that. Or they weren't going to put, or they skipped screens on the under the house screens that go down there. Okay, the vents, the house vents. He just told me story after story, and he'd lived in this house when I sold it for about 25 years, and it was fine. He loved it, but had he not been there while the house was being built, it would have been some shoddy work. Okay, and so I'm just saying, the contractors, the developers are moving things along and they're building homes and they're building them fast and mistakes are made and you want things to happen your way. Even though they do 1,000 houses pretty darn amazingly well, you want to keep an eye on your construction. You'll want your financing in your favor through your bank. Now, there's problems with that sometimes. I worked with a military couple and the Navy credit union got involved, but the Navy credit union thing didn't work. And they ended up financing it actually through the manufacturer. 3 weeks later, it took forever to figure this out and unwind it and make all these things. But I was a realtor. I honestly didn't think they'd buy a new house, but they did. And it was all good. But I gave them some advice and some direction. And because of the way things were working out, they had somebody else to talk to besides each other. They weren't from California. They weren't from Sonoma County. They didn't know how things worked. And they'd never purchased a brand new home. So stuff came up. Stuff comes up in life, right? And it needs to be solved, and it needs to be solved expeditiously. Like you got to like move it along. So the contractor was very patient, helped them, while they tried to work through the Navy credit union thing, and then it didn't quite work. I forget why. If I remember why, I'll write it down in the comments. But it was kind of sticky and weird, and I just didn't imagine that would happen. But see, stuff happens. It just happened. So it's good to have your own realtor working with you. And also, if you can, your own private lender, because they will make things happen. My lender's been with me for 8 or 9 years now. And we've had some interesting times together. Weirdly so, when we were starting out and I was a new rookie realtor, things always happened at the beginning of the transaction. But she had been a lender far longer than I'd been a realtor, and she knew ways to dive into another pot of money or make sure that they did some certain things so that now they'd qualify. There's stuff. Every realtor has their stories. So when it comes to first-time buyers especially, and new construction, or anybody, maybe you're 75, 80 years old and you're buying new construction, you definitely want things to turn out on your side. Now, I experienced this a few times after the fires. People had their insurance money. They went and bought the new construction because they just wanted to move into a house. They'd been through life's biggest drama, the Sonoma fires. And they're 75, 80 years old. and they just wanted a new house. They did use, they paid cash, right? Because they had insurance money. They didn't have to do anything, but they did learn to keep an eye on and keep a tab on the building of their new house, because it gets complicated and you have to make decisions along the way, especially if they're building it from the bottom up. Which brings me to my next subject. So, understanding upgrades. Upgrades. So when you buy a new house, you go into the model and they have every fancy thing in there. The floorboards, the plantation blinds, fancy 5-inch floorboards, fancier, thicker, smooshy, gushy carpet, wide plank, floors that are amazing, fancy tile. The models are upgraded like completely, but you drive down to maybe a house that's for sale in that same section, and it had construction grade, the basics, same floor plan, same backyard, same everything, very attractive, lovely, modern 2022, 2021 home, but not fancy. Okay. And a lot of people don't care. They think construction grade is awesome. They just want a new house and they're good. Okay. But I tell first time buyers, there's a lot that goes into this. So if you get in on the ground floor and you picked out your lot over there and you're going to see the whole thing being built, you're going to go to a showroom a lot. And sometimes the showroom is an hour away up in Vallejo or somewhere other city. You're going to pick out your tile and all your details, and then you're going to watch it. And the average person spends about 50 to 90 grand on upgrades. So you thought you were buying that $680,000 house, and it turns into almost an $800,000 house. This is where you think, oh my God, we're, 6-7 months into this, and it's a lot more expensive than we planned. Beware of the upgrades. It's kind of a crazy, windy road. Yes, especially now. It is February 2023, and I haven't been through new construction in 5 months, but I bet they're not selling them quite as fast. I don't know. Not right now, but they weren't giving things away. Sometimes they'll throw in a refrigerator and a car charger in the garage and all this stuff, and that's cool, but you have to pay for all those other upgrades that make it look amazing, like the prettier banister coming down the stairwell and stuff like that. That can be another 25 grand, right? So beware of upgrades, ask a million questions. And if you don't just want to throw it all at the fan and turn a $600,000 house into an $800,000 house, I would ask if they have a model that you can see or somewhere on the property where you can see construction grade. Now, what happens is as they get near the end of the development, they're just building houses and say they haven't sold them yet. So they just complete the house. It's ready to sell, but it's construction grade. It doesn't have the fancy like you saw in the model. It's construction grade because they needed to complete the house and no one had put a down payment on it and no one's buying it. So you get construction grade. Can you upgrade after the fact? Not always, but you're mostly going to buy a construction grade house. There's probably 1,000 exceptions to that. As they go along in construction, did they decide to paint some of the walls gray or do something different? They ran out of the white paint and now they've got a few with the gray. All these things happen. It's kind of a creative process, let's just say. But for the most part, unless you put your $5,000 down, okay, and you see the first nail being put in and you get to kind of monitor how they build the house, you're buying construction grade, okay? And beware of the upgrades because it can be a lot more money than the price tag that you're seeing on your house. A lot more money, okay? So those are my red flags or my kind of like be aware of these things when you're going to buy new houses. And they're building a bunch of them in Sonoma County. Market is slowing down a lot. So I imagine there are some houses that haven't quite sold yet and they're desperate to sell them. They like to sell them fast. The speed in which they build them and sell them matters to the bottom line for the developer. So if they're lingering here in 2023, you might get a darn good deal. So, and they might throw in an upgrade or two. So be careful when you're buying and be cautious when you're buying new construction. And the next video is coming up right there. Okay, if you like this video and you want to watch another one, a new video comes out every single Friday. So hit the subscribe button.